Well, welcome to a new episode of Marx and Vincentelli. I'm Peter Marx, and Elisabeth wrote some words for me that I'm not going to say. You know, we script these to
I know. I was trying to think of something, but I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah, we try to outdo each other in these, but I'm Peter Marx anyway.
Yes.
And I'm happy to be back in my happy place, a place where we can talk on and on and on about theater and only theater.
Peter, I am so happy to be able to share a happy place with you. We're both, and it's like a dream, and we're both in it. Yes, it is I, Elisabeth Vincentelli. I'm Peter's better half on the podcast because in real life we are both happily married to other people.
Indeed.
And I'm also a regular contributor to the New York Times. So joining us today, we have a very special guest. I feel like I say that every time, but it's true. We have very special guest. And
it's a trope, but it's the true trope.
It's true. Joining us today is Stephanie Styles. Now, if you recognize the name, there's a good chance, that it's because you saw the Encore's production of You're in Town, which I had the privilege of reviewing for the New York Times, and which is running until February 16th.
And you might remember Stephanie from a 2019 Broadway revival of Kiss Me, Kate, in which she played Lois and Bianca opposite Kelly O'Hara and Will Chase. Today, she's going to talk a lot about her own life in the theater, in musical theater, that started when she was very young, back in Houston, Texas, and where she found her voice in every sense of the word. She's going to talk a little bit about her experience as a child star and also how she came to be in You're in Town, which is admittedly a tricky show. It's got obviously a title that is
Yes.
Problematic for some people, but is a tongue-in-cheek from the overture to the finale. And that issue of how you navigate this, playing it straight and at the same time injecting bits of camp and stylization, requires a certain subtlety of skills set.
Yeah, I think, I very much like this Encore's production, which is directed by Teddy Bergman, who had done K-pop on Broadway. And I don't want to speak for you, but I think we were both impressed with Stephanie's performance as Hope Cladwell.
Totally.
She plays Hope is a heiress who falls for the downtrodden resistance leader who's fighting her own father, a tycoon running the Urine Good Company corporation. And Hope is a little bit like Patty Hearst with a sense of humor and great songs. But the thing is also that we're going to talk about with Stephanie, I almost say with Hope, with Stephanie, is that her really working within a very specific musical theater niche of performer, which is the comic soprano. It's a genre or a kind of
specialty.
It's a specialty, yes, that counts among its ranks. Some of my personal favorite Broadway performers, and that is Madeline Kahn and Kristin Chenoweth and Laura Benanti and Annaleigh Ashford. It really is a type of performance that is very dear to my heart because it is both very technical and in both the singing, but also the performance. Like the comedy has to be very precise, and I think Stephanie really understands that.
It's yeah, I mean there is this tradition of the comic soprano. There are a few in each generation of performers who really perfect this subgroup. I think of there was a great song in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum called "Lovely." And it's the lyrics are something like "I'm lovely, what I do is lovely," or "Love is the only thing I can do." And there's a kind of tension in these comic sopranos. They're kind of they're both very feminine and diaphanous to some degree, but also they've got these comic chops of steel, and those that combination often makes for delightful and very, very arresting performances, and just like the people that Elisabeth mentioned. And I think that Stephanie is one of those. It's one of these breakout moments for her
I agree.
in You're in Town. I think she really gets to show what she's made of.
Absolutely. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. Both Peter and I saw you very recently in You're in Town. We were blown away. And well, let's start with that. Like, can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up in that show, which is presented by Encores at City Center?
Hi, thank you for having me on the podcast, and thank you for your very kind words. What's wild is I love You're in Town so much. It's one of my favorite musicals of all time. And I got a call in 2023 from my agents saying I got an offer to do a reading of You're in Town with the idea of doing it again with Teddy, who directed the Encores production. I think at that time it wasn't necessarily associated with Encores yet. And so I did. So I flew to New York for truly 24 hours, stayed with my pal, because at the time, and still I'm kind of mostly in Los Angeles, but went and did the reading and had the best day ever. And just, I never knew if anything more was going to happen with it. So I went up to Greg and Mark, the creators of You're in Town, who were there, and did cry to them about how much I loved the show and how just this one day, because I mean, I don't know if you often talk with actors about this, but sometimes some of my most favorite memories I've ever had in the business are these, 29-hour readings or 1 week readings that you do of material that you may never see again. But the fact you got to work with those people in a room was just something I will never forget. So I just treasured that. And then when I kind of kept in touch with everyone, I ended up doing another reading of a musical with Mark, who wrote the music and lyrics to You're in Town. So just kind of kept in touch. And then like years later, here I am, and it worked out with Encores, and I got to do it at Encores. And I'm just so, so grateful.
How did you discover You're in Town? Because the original ran in 2001 to 2004. Like how...
Were y'all able to see the original? Can you saw it from Texas? I just said y'all.
Oh yeah.
Y'all saw the original?
Love it. We saw it.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Off Broadway and on Broadway and in Washington. I saw it all three places, yeah.
I only saw it on Broadway.
So jealous. I'm so jealous. I've only seen the bootleg of the original production.
There's a bootleg of course there is. Where did you, is that on YouTube? Can we?
YouTube.com.
Okay.
You can find her.
Okay.
You can find her. She's up there.
Okay.
No, it's, I saw the bootleg, and I believe a friend of mine had the VCR of the bootleg, which is so wild to think of when around that time in Houston, Texas. This is my third time doing You're in Town, actually.
Your third time?
Always Hope?
Yeah.
How?
Not Always Hope. The first time I was...
Little Sally?
Nailed it. Nailed it. I was, I think like 14 or 13 maybe. And it was a community theater production with adults, but I was Little Sally. And then I did Hope in my sophomore year in high school.
Wow. So, like what high school does a production of You're in Town?
Well, I'm really proud of I got shout out to George Brock of the Episcopal High School in Houston, Texas for doing You're in Town. And here's what's amazing. I hope you all appreciate this. In the second act of You're in Town, spoiler alert, is that okay? Can I say spoilers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right before Bobby Sean is about to die, he goes, he's like, this is You're in Town, but this is our town. How can we be in our town and You're in Town at the same time? And George Brock made my sophomore year that season at our high school. The play was Our Town and the musical was You're in Town.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Wow, that's really
Tale
good.
of Two Towns. So I will say every night I think of that when they say that line. So it was an incredible season. And I think, I was so grateful as someone growing up in Texas to have those outlets to these arts and to, have those figures in my life who really, just taught me so much that I maybe wouldn't have known of otherwise.
Did you have a supportive family? Like, did you realize pretty early on, like, that's what you wanted to do? Like, were you the kind of kid who's like singing in front of her TV, or
I did grow up in the Disney Renaissance. So that was, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken coming together. I think that I will say, I just think there's a generation of performers that, because of those two people, primarily with Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, like that run after they did Little Shop of Horrors and everything together, I think listen, I don't want to misquote right here, but I think they said New York Times said the best Broadway musical of 1991 was the animated film Beauty and the Beast.
I think at
one point someone said that in an article. And I think it's because this incredible caliber of art these two people were making together in the medium of musical theater. I mean, it was book musicals through animation was such an outlet to so many people who then ended up doing it, later in life. So I was grateful to grow up during that time and have that as my primary source of entertainment. But also, yes, my parents have been so supportive. They were big musical theater fans. They weren't involved in it when they, got married, but their first date was to see the original Broadway cast of Phantom of the Opera, Sarah Brightman and Michael Crawford.
Wow.
And then when I was definitely maybe too young, they took me to see the tour of Phantom in Houston, Texas. I think when I was like 6 or 5, 6, around there.
Traumatized
and I fell in love with it.
Was your first show?
Yeah.
It was my first show I ever saw. I was raised on what I referred to as Mary Martin, Peter Pan. But that was the first show I ever saw. And, just like my mom knew that I could take classes in this, like kids take classes in other things. And I started at the Theater Under the Stars in Houston, Texas. And that's where I primarily started to get all my training.
That's a great theater to start at, Stephanie. And I should just tell you that my first musical was Mary Martin in The Sound of Music. So,
oh my goodness.
I'm blowing your mind. I am 104 years old. So,
No, but oh my gosh, your taste just from Genesis.
Right. Oh. Exactly. Oh, good for you. Boy, you're good. Yes, that's a very smart, yes. That was the amazing place to start. And I was and 5 or 6 years old.
So really.
Yeah.
Elisabeth, I know this is not a visual medium that we're working on, but I will say for everyone involved that my reaction to the incandescent Mary Martin and Sound of Music was comparable to my reaction to Cats. I am a big Cats fan as well.
I love Cats.
So excited that you started at the Jellicle Ball.
It's true. I did. My first live Broadway show, because I had seen like movie musicals, but like live Broadway show, I think was Cats. I'm pretty sure.
Was your mind blown?
It was. I had no idea also, I really didn't speak any English, so I had no idea what was going on. Some might say that helped with that show, not understanding what was going on. But
you probably weren't missing much. As a massive Cats fan, I say. As a massive Cats fan.
I love Cats. Okay, so you grew up in Houston. Like then what? Like where did you go to? I assume you went to college musical theater. I have that feeling, getting that vibe from you.
I present as a BFA holder. I am. I will say I had a wonderful amalgamation of a normal childhood and was a kid actor in that I had had a completely normal high school experience, but I went on a national tour when I was 11. And then I did an opera at New York City Opera, which obviously no longer exists, but was at Lincoln Center when I was 14. And so I had those 2 times as a kid where I kind of got a taste. And
okay,
can we back up a little bit? Like what was was that the Sound of Music tour that you were on?
It was the Sound of Music tour.
What is it like to be on tour? Like I've always been curious. Like did you have like a chaperone? Because there's tons of kids in that show, obviously. Like were you all getting up to shenanigans on the bus or what?
So many. I love that you say on the bus because I'm like, that's exactly what it was. It was also a non-equity tour. So it was a non-union tour, which means 14 one-nighters in a row and school on the bus and things like that. So and what's exactly like what you said about Sound of Music, so many kids, so many ages. And then you also think we have to have coverage. You have to have understudies for kids. And so it was a great group, but ranging from like Gretel to Friedrich, like that's so many ages. And I'm
Who are you?
so grateful that I was Louisa, the kind of mean one, the POV. She, gets you into the story. Frogs in the
getting
bed,
interesting.
spiders.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand a little. Yes.
You understand.
Yeah.
She's so of Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti. But no, it was great. And my mom came with me for a majority of the tour. But then at one point, my understudy was I think at the time a 25-year-old woman. She understudied me and Liesel. And at one point she became my legal guardian so my mom could go visit my brother. And now she's still one of my best friends, and I'm the godmother to her daughters.
Oh my God.
Isn't that
amazing?
Isn't theater
it's like
so wild?
I'm starting to think there's like a TV series in this somehow.
Oh, God.
It's an interesting.
Don't say that out loud because that's such a good idea.
Three of
I
us
want to do
together.
it. We've got to do it. We've got to write it. Oh, I don't know why there hasn't been a TV show about a Broadway tour, by the way.
Yeah, that's a great notion. Stephanie, I'm just curious. Did you always? I'm always fascinated by where the vocal skill comes from. You sound so great in this show in You're in Town. You just sound fabulous. I could listen to you all day sing that score. Did you come by that? Is that a genetic thing? I mean, are there singers in your family, or is it something you developed or you discovered about yourself?
That's so nice. I always say that my dad has a good voice, but no one has been a professional singer in my family except for I think my grandmother Agnes, who I never got to really meet. She was a theatrical person in our family. What's wild is that if you're like, how did it develop? This is wild to say, but every wish I made in a fountain as a kid was to be a soprano. And because I had one voice teacher told me, it was like, you're probably going to be a mezzo. And I was this girl obsessed with Phantom of the Opera. And I was like, I have to be able to sing those high notes. So I really thank all the fountains of America for every penny that I put into a fountain, helping me get those high notes. But no, it's very sweet. And I will say this is kind of odd for me to talk about because You're in Town is a very wonderful score. And I do feel so comfortable singing it. But I don't get to sing soprano that often publicly. I feel like and I love belting and everything like that, but that's generally what I'm doing. So I'm just so grateful that they I pursue comedy. That's primarily what I do on stage and on camera as much as possible. I will do anything. I love being dramatic every once in a while, but I love comedy. And they just don't write as many funny soprano parts. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the Madeline Kahns and the Kristin Chenoweths and the Barbara Cooks before us for trying to carve a path for that. But I'm grateful for Mark and Greg for writing this score and this funny, funny part.
Elisabeth, didn't we talk? This is what I said. I said that there's this great history of comic sopranos. Mm-hmm. There's always a spot for, one or two in a generation. But I feel like you're part of that great tradition, that goes way back to all those voices that you're describing, and the combination of the quality of the voice and the astuteness, the comic astuteness, is, it's why I think audiences notice immediately what you're doing and they can almost like watch you. There's a comic brain working that is just you just want to sort of like commune with it. It feels that way very, very much in this production, and I guess that's something you've aspired to.
And so I'm like, we joked earlier because I am resting my laptop on a thing of Kleenex, and I'm like, I will probably start crying right now.
Excellent.
It's just, and I wonder what it is like for you all watching comedy pieces, because when you said the word commune, I was thinking about it earlier, and it's just like one day in rehearsal, Christopher Fitzgerald and Greg Hildreth were doing this bit that I think is still on the show with the shovel, and where they're just like dragging it across the stage. Yes. And I started laughing at it when I saw it for the first time, and then I started like kind of crying, and not like I was laughing crying. I was just crying because comedy is so beautiful to me. And it's this idea of how clever the human brain can be to make these bits out of nowhere. And I mean, I've admired Fitz for so long, and just getting to be in a room with such innovative comics and see people make each other laugh and see how we laugh at the human experience, especially in a show as dark as Urinetown at the end of the day. It's something, it feels like, I'm not a very religious person, but it feels like so holy being in the theater and laughing with everyone and coming together to do that. And I'm just so grateful to be in a show. A show about pee. Let me bring myself down to earth. Like,
right.
It's the perfect mix of highbrow, lowbrow. But
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful for it. And again, have such reverence for the particularly the women who came before me who were able to balance this very beautiful art form, generally of legit soprano singing, with being goofballs. And I love the dichotomy of that so much. And I'm so grateful to have learned and studied all those women from afar.
It's interesting, yeah, because you seem to come at it from like an almost like scholarly. It's very conscious. Like but you're like really interested in it sounds like you're interested in the mechanics of it, which is interesting to me because as you say, it's this mix of like technical precision that you have to have. It's not easy to sing, so you have to lend that, but you also have to have that looseness so it doesn't sound too calculated. Because that kills the laughter. And someone tries too hard, like to me, that's just like, oh my God, no, you're trying too hard. But it's tricky. Like you were saying, the bit about the shovel, like, and of course, Christopher Fitzgerald is, a great comic actor as well. I mean, in fact, there's a whole bunch of them in this production. It's really incredible. So how do you approach it? I mean, for instance, like at the end of the show, you get like a big laugh, like the way you do a great line reading of the word freedom. Like you do something when you say that. It's like, wow, just getting a laugh from like just saying freedom. Like, is that something like you kind of work on, or it just comes to you in rehearsal, or do you work with the director on that? I'm always interested in like how something like that ends up on stage.
I'm interested in that too. And like when I've spent a lifetime of listening to wonderful people like you who are so interested in the human experience and the art experience, ask my heroes that same question. And I just think back to this time when I did get a BFA in musical theater from the University of Michigan. And we have a thing called sophomore evaluations. Incredible program. And I'm so grateful to have gone there. We have this thing called sophomore evaluations where you do so many different types of things, kind of just to check in. It's not a cut program, but just to see like where you are. And I remember my professor, Brent Wagner, who is kind of, I would say like my absolute hero when it comes to musical theater, sat me down in a very, as you were saying, formal way about what I had done, everything I'd shown them. And he said, you are funny and this is your thing. And I really think that you should study this. And I think that there was a lot of conversations in school. It kind of sounds, I don't know what the right word for it, but they were like, study the things you're bad at, but also study the things you're good at. So it's is dance my most threatening of the triple threats? No. So of course I was taking extra dance classes, but at the same time, when he sat me down and said that, I'd had some teachers growing up tell me the same thing, but this was in a very, as you were saying, kind of academic way, scholarly way, saying you should study comedy. And so from then, I made a point of seeking out the performers and the people I responded to and trying to study as many types of comedy as I could and also find my voice in all of that. And I think I respond to people who are just like, their minds are works of art. Like when I've gotten to work with two people I worked closely with have been Annaleigh Ashford and Katie Finneran. And those are two actresses who are just, their minds, how they operate are so creative. And we're not all the same type of comics, but I would hope that I can maybe approach a script the way that they do. I mean, Katie Finneran has a Tony Award for being in 2 scenes of a musical. Like, Promises and that owl coat. There's nothing like it. And Annaleigh can just turn. I remember seeing her in one of my favorite performances of her is Midsummer at the Park. When she did it at the park, and she also, there was some like, she made a sound that got a laugh. She can make a sound, not even a word. She doesn't need freedom. She could just go, and get a laugh. And that is just something I admired. And also going back to my childhood and the things that made me laugh the most, which were probably primarily puppets and Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens. And going back to kind of the simplicity of that and the unabashed being able to just like be himself. And so I'm very grateful for growing up on good comedy as well.
Did it help Stephanie to have played this role before, or was it a hindrance? I mean, I wonder if you had ideas in your head about Hope. Hope is obviously an archetypal character. We've seen, variations of Hope, and that's the whole idea of You're in Town, is that, it's a meta musical in the sense that it's making fun of musicals at the same time that it loves musicals. But having done it in high school, did you have ideas about how to play her that you wanted to revise, or that you thought you needed a deeper understanding of? What happens when you've got this in your head and you're trying to create this anew with a whole other cast of people and for another director?
It's what you just said, the director. Everything I put so much immediate trust and faith in Teddy's vision. And, we did a reading of it years ago, but then we did a pre-pro while I was doing ragtime at City Center for You're in Town. And then we had several conversations before. And again, high school production of You're in Town, which was unreal, so good. It was a lot more broad, I would say, and very, very similar to the original. And not the saying how broad the original was, but there were things that were from the original. And I would definitely say I was much more, whether it was like how we were costumed and everything, it was even more of an archetype than I think I'm doing now.
Got it.
Whereas Teddy was, a tastemaker. He is an editor. He's a tastemaker. And I do trust him implicitly, and just threw myself into knowing parts of the show where I took all of it seriously, but there's a part of the shows where I'm like just sobbing during Tell Her I Love Her, because that's what Hope would be doing when she found out Bobby died. Or, wanting, you have to care about Bobby and Hope. And I think there's, even talking to Greg, the writer, about that, I think making sure that there's a line in right before Run Freedom Run where he talks about the heat, the actual hotness of battle, and they call like the riot Hope and Bobby's child. So there has to be some passion and some heat between these two that I think can sometimes not be there. And so really doing the tango of comedy, archetype, plus caring about these individuals. And what I kind of came down to at the end that I said to Greg and Teddy, because they had said some things to me about the tone, I said, I think what you're trying to say is that Hope and Bobby are humans in a Muppet movie. And so that you have Cladwell, you have Beryl and Lockstock that are kind of more waka waka, as Fozzie Bear might say. Whereas you have these humans, whether it's the great Michael Caine, the great, oh my gosh, my literal Tim Curry, my hero. And, Jason Segel and Amy Adams, who have been these incredible humans in these Muppet films, that Michael Caine is acting as though the Muppets are humans. Tim Curry is acting as though he is a Muppet in Treasure Island. Like the way these different humans have approached it, but knowing that they are different in this ensemble, that's kind of how I looked at it, and to be like that gateway in. And comedy is a seductress. She is a seductress to where you can feel her pulling you in and you want to go for bits. And I would just make sure that when the bit police came around in my soul, that I was like, does this feel truthful? And then at the same time, when you're tied up to a chair, you're not actually tied up to a chair. You can extend your arm and do funny things. That's kind of like the world you live in. It's just the rules of the world. But I trust Teddy and his taste implicitly. And I'm so indebted to him for guiding me in this portrayal of one of my favorite characters in one of my favorite musicals of all time. Also, shout out to George Brock, who did an incredible job of my sophomore year. He's coming to see the show, I think, this weekend. So I'm so grateful. And I can't wait for him to see this.
What's his name? George?
George Brock, Episcopal High School. I think he's retiring soon.
You've got to tell us your reactions to this. We need a review from George.
He's amazing. So can't wait to hear what he thinks.
It's tricky, as you were saying, because there are songs that, the show is very funny, but there's a song like Follow Your Heart is pretty much straightforward. There's not, it's just a very, very well crafted song in a very classic mode. There's no meta joking in it. It's like, so is it hard to kind of switch gears like that? Or do you feel like you have to switch gears when you're going to follow your heart, which is, I mean, I think it's like one of the most beautiful songs hiding in plain sight in a modern musicals that people would not think of. Oh, you're in town. Yeah, it's all jokey and stuff, but it's just a beautiful song. Like
Isn't it
how do you
gorgeous?
switch gears on that?
Can we talk about those 6 notes, just laughter and gladness, when they harmonize? I mean, what is Mark doing in the middle of this Brechtian Waka Waka show, writing my like 6 favorite notes in all of musical theater? They're just so beautiful. And I even can dramaturgically break down those things. I'm like, all they want, the simplicity of it is just laughter and gladness. And it's like, to me, gladness is happiness with a sense of gratitude. And it's like that at the end of the day, what we want is just to laugh and to like be happy and grateful. We don't want anger or badness. And like, that's what these 2 people want from these 2 places at this time. And it just like is so beautiful to me. And I think there's a beautiful preface. I think if you buy like the hard, or I think it's soft actually, copy of the Urinetown script where Greg and Mark write a preface, there's a part where they talk about trying to figure out Follow Your Heart and that there was something missing. And it came down to the lyrics. It's the one somewhat jokey lyric in all of Follow Your Heart, which is when Bobby is listening to Hope's heart for the first time, which of course we have the gag if he puts his head on my chest, blah, 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 blah. You have those situational comedic moments that just because they're situationally these 2 young people figuring this out for the first time, then you have this beautiful moment when he's listening to her and he's more of a pragmatic guy. You know, he's angry in this moment going into this song. Like his father just left. Like Officer Lockstock's talking about him in the past, his dad in the past tense. Like, and he's so angry and this girl is so positive and trying to be like, listen to your heart. And he's like, I don't know. And he starts listening to her heart and he's hearing about their aortas and arteries all intertwined. And it's like, that's the one somewhat comedic line, but that alone, this like very pragmatic guy listening to her heart hears it so matter-of-factly, but still hears how they're coming together. And I think that that's why this show is so wonderful, because it is, you're in town, you're in good company, like, and defecation, like all these lines of the show. And at the end of the day, it's like so poignant and beautiful. And I think that that's what it is Greg just is like, you have to care about these 2 characters. And you do. And I think you also, a lot of people see themselves in Hope. A lot of them see themselves in Bobby. And just how they deal with crisis, how they deal with justice and their relationship to it. And I just think it's such a beautiful song. And Jordan Fisher is one of the most dynamic performers, and his vocal pyrotechnics have literally led him to be the singing voice of fireworks at Walt Disney World. So they are quite literally pyrotechnics. So it's just to sing with him every night. It's such a gift.
Yeah, you 2 definitely. There's a chemical reaction between you, but now I really want to see what George Brock would bring to this also. So, I'm curious, Stephanie. You know, one of the things I find fascinating, you know, when you watch a performance and somebody really does hit you where you live, as you do in this production. I wonder about like the life of an actor. How much do you have planned? How much can you plan in a life when you're going from project to project? How like far in advance do you know what else is happening in your life? Are you how far down a road can you look when you don't even know which opportunities are going to crop up when in the theater and obviously in film or television? How do you chart it?
I would like to ask other people the same question. I think, being a child actor, I've been doing it for a long enough time to where the unstableness of it is what is stable. And it's almost that
You're used to
it. I crave momentum. Like I crave momentum, which may not be that I have a job, but maybe like I'm getting responses for auditions or things like that. Or momentum is something that I feel like I can recognize and latch onto. I'm very grateful in that. Right now is probably the most employed I've been in a very hot second, in that I'm getting to do this. I did a reading before you're in town, but then I've gotten to do truly what is one of my dream shows of all time, going into one of my other dream jobs, which has been doing this television series on Apple TV Plus called Loot, starring Maya Rudolph. And I truly leave the day after this, I almost said wraps, closes, to start season 3 of
Fabulous.
Loot. But you never know the history unless you're, I don't know, friends. But like, you don't know how long your TV show is going to last. You don't know if your reading will become a real musical or your out of town trial will become a real Broadway show. So I try to just be very present and very grateful. And I think it is, having a team of people around you, both professionally and personally, to, be there for you emotionally in the middle of it all. But I'm just trying to have so much laughter and gladness right now for the fact that I cannot believe today's my day off, and I had to walk a while to get to an appointment, and I listened to musical theater because I love musical theater so much. And I listened to my favorite musical theater playlist, and Stuff That Girl came on. And I just cannot believe I listen to the overture every night, even though I don't need to be downstairs for it. But I just love this show so much. And the fact that I was 16 doing the show and now doing it now, it's like, God, life is beautiful.
Right.
And like the fact that I think Susie Essman on the Curb Your Enthusiasm podcast the other day said that a lot of happiness is when adults fulfill their childhood dreams. Is like, that can be a lot of adult happiness, can be fulfilling those things. So it is wild and being an actor and doing these things. I do just take stock and make sure that I am just so grateful. And I mean, I am so grateful. Like, again, I'm sure you can hear it in my voice right now. I'm just so happy to be doing this. And
You're staying in the moment.
I'm just working with some of my heroes, and it's just an absolute dream come true. And talking to people who I feel about the arts in the same way, it's just, isn't it so beautiful? Because you were saying, how can you deal with the unexpected? The world right now is very, who knows?
Good point.
It's such a grab bag.
Right.
And so I often tell myself when I'm so shocked by these headlines that I'm like, well, isn't it hope? And this very hope of me, but it's like, well, if anything horrible can happen, doesn't it mean anything wonderful can happen too?
That is very hope.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to be like in the middle of these fires and everything, being like, yeah, and hopefully something wonderful. I remember getting the phone call being like, they're trying to do a reading of Urinetown. And I went, what? I will deeply inconvenience myself to be there. Like, I will lose money going to do this reading, but I will do it because I love this show so much and I care about what it's about. And so just even getting to chat with y'all today has been meant so much to me because I just love talking about theater.
Oh, so do we. I want to ask you about you. I think it's the one Broadway show you've done. Was that the only one? Kiss Me Kate. So that was quite the cast. And yeah, it was a crazy cast. It's also one of the funniest Golden Age musicals there is. It's just a very funny show. What was it like? Like, because also you have like your part, you're playing Lois Lane / Bianca. So, which is of course a very, I mean, I was going to say showy, but they all are in that show. So, what was that like for you to do that? I think it was like 10 years ago or something. Something like that? 2000.
It was 2019.
Something. 19,
so
okay.
I have a little bit of not as 10 years ago. You're like this 45-year-old playing Hope Gladwell. And
Listen, it's the magic of theater.
That is not how old.
No, I'm getting my dates wrong. It was 5 years ago.
No, but there's been a few revivals. There was another revival with the incredible Amy Spanger played
years ago.
Lois Lane.
Oh, yeah.
And she also was a replacement Hope in Urinetown. I'm like, Queen. I'm like, I love your career. It was unbelievable. I got to do I've talked about this in interviews before, but I had a very interesting path to Broadway in that I technically got my first Broadway show right out of school, and then I got this revival of Forum that was supposed to be starring James Corden that got and like indefinitely pushed because he got the Late Show. And then I was doing a version of Roman Holiday with a score by Cole Porter out of town that was supposed to go to Broadway, and all these things didn't happen. But by the time Kiss Me Kate happened, it was the easiest audition process. Like, it was 1 week of my life. I heard immediately, and they had everyone else cast except for this part. And I couldn't believe I was making my Broadway debut in a show about a girl doing her first role on the stage with, giants in the theater. And Kelly O'Hara God, if she's your hero, they say don't meet your heroes. If she's your hero, I hope you meet her because she surpasses expectations. She can do more with a glance than like an entire kick line. Like she is unbelievable. Her voice is unrivaled. Her vulnerability, and particularly in this show, her comedic timing, she is unbelievable and unrivaled. And getting to work with her was wild. And I really made a point to be as normal as possible. But then when it came time to acknowledge who she was and what she has done for this art form, I took that opportunity on the anniversary of Light in the Piazza. You better believe I was like, Clara Johnson, 142 East Lake Street. That address, that girl changed my life.
Oh my God.
And just, everything that she's done. And she was so incredible to me, knowing it was my first Broadway show and the specificities and the different things that come along as you're doing a Broadway show. She was unbelievable. And Corbin Bleu, tap dancing on the ceiling, I think he is the Renaissance man. I think he is the Gene Kelly of our day. Plus, like what he's able to do.
100% agree. 100% agree. I think he's so underrated. I'm a huge fan.
He's unbelievable. And I'm just a massive, he actually was my officiant at my wedding and married me and my husband because we had also gotten married on Broadway 150 times. So I felt like he was the man for the job.
Your officiant was Corbin Bleu?
Yes, because he was on my third date with my husband.
You are a musical theater nerd, Stephanie.
Oh, you don't even know. You don't even know what I had my friends sing at my wedding.
If they manage to get that summer stock thing going again with him, you've got to be in it. I'm just casting
That's
it
the
right
reading
now.
I did.
Is that it?
It was Get Happy.
Oh.
So
okay.
We'll see what happens.
This has to work. All my digits are crossed.
Wait, you were in Summer Stock?
I didn't do, but
I saw Summer Stock.
I wasn't
The
even
one
dancing in that.
The one
I
at
wasn't in
Goodspeed,
that production. But,
I didn't think so.
We did a reading right before. This is public in the press, so it's not like I'm saying anything. But we did a reading of it before I did You're in Town, just to see what it's like now. But they changed the name to Get Happy. And I did at the Judy Garland part. And very different from Hope, but still, classic musical. And did it with Corbin, and we'll just see what happens. That's the thing is like, you never know. You never know what happens. I am unemployed come the end of season 3 of Loot as of right now. But, I've done some readings. There are some offers out there. I don't know what's happening.
So cool.
I don't know what will actually happen.
So cool.
As long as we can all maybe, talk more musical theater someday, go to Sardi's, go to Bar Central at some point. Because I love this.
Well, the thing is also with Summer Stock, you would get to be funny and wear overalls and maybe a pitchfork. So, pretty much that's all you need. That's all you need
in evening's entertainment. And then you get the little tuxedo jacket with the pink sky in the end. I mean,
that's right.
And they justify it in this version. They have a reason for it. Not because we needed another number and Judy had to do some reshoots.
God forbid. Okay, so you were mentioning earlier your musical theater playlist. What's on it? What do you list? What's on your...
I truly was listening to it today. Let's pull this up. We have my phone here. I will tell you, I'm a big overture girl. So I was listening to Carousel Waltz. I was listening to, obviously, 1415, the beginning of Gypsy Overture. Those are the chord progressions there. If you go to the University of Michigan, they make sure you know that. Let's see. It's called... Oh, of course, I have The Beauty Is, Kelly O'Hara, Perfect Strangers, Edwin Drood. I have Sweet Transvestite, Tim Curry, Nothing Up from Robert Bridegroom, Big D from The Most Happy Fella, Waltz for Ava and Jay, Yes, My Heart from Carnival, some Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, some Bat Boy, some Baby.
Bad Boy, oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I did a reading of Bat Boy.
Did you do a reading of Bad Boy?
Years ago. I would love to do the Fantastics. But Sweeney Todd, just Little Night Music, Grand Hotel. Would love to be Louisa. But just some hits, What are your favorite musicals? You were fantastic. Try to remember. That was on my shuffle today. So good. What are your favorite? I'm sure you've covered this on the pod, but just...
No, actually, we have not.
What are your favorites?
We have not.
Top 3 favorite musicals?
Top 3 favorite musical. Okay, let's do it. Okay,
off the top of my head,
Yes.
I'd say Guys and Dolls.
A perfect musical, a technically perfect musical.
Yeah.
I'd say Follies.
Oh,
okay.
And maybe a chorus line.
Oh,
5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. Wow, that's Okay, that's
Maybe.
pretty
That's,
good.
I mean, that's
I'm gonna-
taste.
Okay, I'm gonna say. Okay, I can't compete, but
Elizabeth says cats.
no,
just
no,
joking.
it's
Yeah,
not
cats,
cats.
cats, and cats.
Cats, and cats. Well, perhaps in another life, but
Well, you have 9 of them, so.
that's right. That's right. I'm gonna say hair. I love hair. I'm gonna say. Oh, this is so tricky. This is really hard. I'm gonna say gypsy. Actually, that's
Also
That's a great musical.
that's
perfect.
also perfect. Like there's, I saw it recently, of course, and I'm like, okay, no notes. I mean, the show is perfect.
notes.
The show itself is perfect. So that will be 2, and then the third one. Oh, that's so tricky.
This Stephanie, you've gotten us to admit to we've been doing this for years, and no one has ever asked us this, and you've
Yes.
gotten
Wow.
us to actually name them. You may have a
I'm
future in
sneaky.
musical theater journalism.
I mean,
I'm gonna say that I have a weakness. I have a weakness for one that Encores is about to do. Actually, it's not a perfect musical, but I love it, and it's Wonderful Town.
Wonderful Town.
Oh, that's a great musical.
Ohio.
So-
My goodness.
Yes, you
Ohio,
can totally do
Ohio,
that
Ohio.
one. Okay, but which sister would you play in Wonderful Town?
I don't know. My reason I know Wonderful Town is because back when I was a child actor, when you plugged into the armrest of an airplane to listen to music, the Broadway station played that Wonderful Town revival. So I only know what's the big opening
What,
number?
the one with Donna Murphy?
Kansas City. Yes. The one about the street, whatever that song is, and then Ohio were the ones that I knew. But that is a kind of also, along with, I forgot what the cultural blind spot was in the beginning, but that is a cultural blind spot for me, is Wonderful Town. But I love the songs that I know. But I guess I would probably be right now the younger one and then graduate to older.
Probably.
Like
yes.
the Rowells went into the Phantoms, into Andre and Famine back in the day, There's I feel like one day I'll be Pennywise and then I'll be Old Ma Strong. And we just keep going and going and going.
I think that your one woman show is you singing your playlist. I mean, that's going to be
With special guests.
with special guests, with Corbin Bleu recreating you could do
Okay,
Not Getting
so we're-
Married. You could do Not
Oh
Getting
my gosh.
Married with Corbin Bleu. Or
We
something.
love-
There's
Yes.
some tie in here. There's a
Since
lot
we're
of
into-
possibilities.
Since we're into like major nerdism, if you were doing miscast, the MCC series where someone saying something they could
Yes.
never have done in a show, like which song
What would I do?
would you do at miscast?
Oh my gosh. I've never thought about this before, and I think about a lot of things. I don't know. I always joke with some of my female friends about doing confrontation. I would like to do something so out of the box. But please, do you
I
have
would
anything
say
to pitch?
I'd like to see you sing Soliloquy from Carousel.
Oh my God.
My
Oh my
boy
God,
Bill. Da, 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 da,
You're going for such a
like
bummer.
tree,
There you go,
like
see?
a sad
You're ready for it. You're
Oh my
ready
God.
for
I'm
it,
ready.
Stephanie.
I
I think
listen,
it's-
that waltz came on and I was definitely walking down 6th Avenue going, I mean, it's just so good. It's so good. Isn't it just, and it's also that I was talking to someone, what about this art form? We're all communicating. We have never, ever all talked face to face.
Right.
And yet we have a shared vocabulary, able
Yep.
to talk and joke and talk about these things that
Totally.
other art forms, people in film do this, but not everyone's remaking movies. Yes, we're doing Dune too and everything, but it's revivals are such a fabric of theater. And it's just
Totally.
amazing to be able to have these references and talk about these things. And it's just it's something I love. And it's something a lot of people love in their childhood that goes through their whole lives. And
Totally.
even during the
Once you've
stage
got the
door,
illness.
people are like, I meet people at the stage door and I'm like, I hope to be in a show with you one day. And guess what? I've met people at the stage door who I have worked with.
Really?
And yes, I remember someone on the crew of a play I did a off-Broadway play at Roundabout in their Laurel Pell's, right? That's what it's called,
yep.
space. And someone on our crew stage doored Newsies when I did Newsies in Los Angeles on tour. And I was like, and they were on the crew.
Okay.
And it's just, that's what we'll all, it's a fabric. It's a small world.
I'm sorry, but
isn't it,
what is it
Gypsy?
like? What is it like to do Newsies on tour? Because that show is like
Unbelievable.
99% guys, right? So
Yeah, I was the girlsy. in a way.
What was it like? What was it like to be on a bus with?
It was being on tour with One Direction. I felt like I was on tour with One Direction. It was unbelievable. I'm a giant Disney adult, as you can tell from me referencing the Renaissance and the Muppets and all these things. Obviously that's Tencent, but they're partners. But yeah, no, it was an absolute dream come true. And I cannot believe that was my first job out of school. It's still the hardest thing I've ever done. And that's the hardest thing I've ever done on stage is Newsies. And I'm just so grateful. It was back to quote Fontaine, when I was young and unafraid and dreams were made and used and wasted. I was just like, I could do anything because I just didn't know. I didn't know.
We have to include an AI thing for this because, like, how many musicals have been named in this podcast? That's the
our Easter eggs.
I will not be happy, Stephanie, until you and George Brock are reunited on the stage. I think that's But anyway.
I have done so many shows with him. You should have seen his Sweeney Todd set in an insane asylum.
Oh my God.
You should have seen it.
Oh my, there you go.
I was Joanna. I was in a cage.
I was in a cage.
No, well, to be fair, he had a community theater that he did over the summer. And I was in a cage as Joanna. We never left the stage. I was in a cage and this was my bit. I will say this was my idea. It was amazing. The chair was a different type of chair.
Oh my God.
And then, but I folded, I had all these pieces of paper and I would make paper cranes as Joanna, as for my birds. And it was
that's really smart.
That was my bet. Thank you. But George Rock painted the canvas of which I did little detail work on. It was, and like Anthony had to get me out of the cage. It was.
Now I want to see Worst Pies in London by Stephanie Styles.
Oh my God. Well, listen, one day we can love at this. I would love to. I would love it too.
In the meantime, we should let you have a little vocal rest, Stephanie.
This has been an absolute treat talking to you two. And I'm so glad I got to be the spark, the smoldering ember that unleashed your favorite musicals to the public.
It's
you will
true.
never
I can't believe
forget
we've never
this.
done that before. I think we might have to do like a follow-up show just on that.
Yeah, you have to unpack them.
I'm now thinking, why didn't I mention Les Mis? I love Les Mis.
I think you should have an honorable mention, like a fan favorite. I love Starlight Express, but that's not going to be in my top.
Oh my God!
You know,
that's yes.
Well, yeah, that's true.
For next time.
That's a good one.
Next
we'll do
time,
a follow-up when you
back.
come back. When you come back in summer stock, we'll have you back again, and we'll talk about that.
Well, thank you so much. I admire you both, and this has been heaven, and I wouldn't spend my day off any other way.
Oh, that is so nice. Okay. And so have a great end of the run and enjoy Loot. And we look forward to seeing you in lots of more stuff.
Yes.
And I hope to see you there. Can't wait.
Take care. Well, Stephanie was a delightful guest. She got us to confess to some of our own
dark secrets.
Joys. And that might change tomorrow. The three I love, it's really of the moment. But I really loved hearing about her playlist, the one that includes all those musical theater overtures.
I can't believe she has overtures on her playlist. That is,
I know, that's great. Well, that's serious. She's the real deal. And so you can see her in town at New York City Center until February 16th.
And you can see us at marksvincentelli.substack.com. Now and forever, I don't know. Now for sure. So head there, tell all your friends, spread the word. This was a really fun. The energy was intense today. Yes, Stephanie. I feel like I've just put my fingers into an electric outlet.
Yeah. She's but she said the things she said about, us being able to share this conversation, not knowing she not knowing us. And then immediately there's a wavelength on which you all find common coin, which is, of course,
absolutely
a love of this form.
Absolutely. So, dear listeners, I'm going to assume again that if you're listening to this, it's because you share at least some of that sentiment. So we hope you enjoyed our chat. And please do go check out Stephanie. You can also check out some of her numbers from Kiss Me Kate on YouTube. I recommend looking for that. And we'll see you very soon.
Yes, and reminding people, and even if you don't love musical theater, you can love theater, and you'll hear us talk about all kinds at marksvincentelli.substack.com. We're also on social media. We use our real names. You'll find me on Threads and Blue Sky. You'll find Elisabeth on Blue Sky. So until next time, have a blast at the theater.